Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've had the Austin Grand Prix, and well, Max Verstappen is on a charge. What a drive from Max Verstappen. Absolutely bloody brilliant. Holy shit, it's gonna happen. Wow, 23 points into taken out of Oscar Piastri's lead. Now just 40 points behind. This is incredible. If he pulls this off, we've said it for long enough, if he pulls this off, it'll be one hell of a reversal in the championship to nick the driver's title. 104 points he was behind just 4 races ago. It's now just 40. 119 points gained out of a possible 133. It's so close. What do McLaren do going into the next few races? The problem they have is that Lando Norris is just 14 points behind Oscar Piastri, so he's in there with a fighting chance himself. Do they now call and pull rank and say we help the guy comfortably up ahead to just ward off this championship going to their rival Max Verstappen? It's absolutely incredible. Let's take a quick look through the race though. It wasn't a classic by any means, but it was really the worst start for Lando Norris because he had Charles Leclerc out of the only guy up at the front on the soft tyre. And we all knew why he went that. He went for track position. And it was, you know, that just we missed out potentially with a Verstappen-Norris fight because Norris did look really quick, but it took him absolutely forever. What a defensive job from Charles Leclerc on the softs to hold Norris back up until lap 21. Great defensive driving from Charles Leclerc. And from there on, Leclerc pit early, probably a couple of laps too early. I think he probably did think that once Norris got ahead, he might go for the early stop. But had Charles kept it another few laps, then when it come to the end battle, he might have not had to nurse the mediums for as long as he did. But he got the undercut on Lando Norris. And then from there on, Norris was closing in on Charles Leclerc and then suddenly said, sorry guys, I've got no tyres, and it just looked like, oof, this is going to be a comfortable cruise in the end for Charles Leclerc into this second place. And what a brilliant strategy call from Ferrari. It was all hail Ferrari and Charles Leclerc, but crucially for Lando Norris, he held off, weaned these tyres back into shape and went for another attack, and a brilliant move because he just couldn't afford any mistakes because he'd had 3 track limits, and one more he would have got a 5-second penalty, which would have given Charles Leclerc back that P2. But really good clean move in the end, and that was pretty much the story of the race. It wasn't a classic by any means. The strategy calls and the tyres trying to go one step harder on the hard to the mediums meant everybody just went for the mediums on the soft. So hard was no good in the race, and everybody just nursed these tyres through. I mean, so much, even Charles Leclerc on them softs going nearly 20 odd laps, plus most trying to do that 25, 26 laps before they need to pit to get off these soft tyres just to make it through on the end on the mediums, or the mediums going really long, just eking it out so it's a one stop. So that really didn't work. It was just tyre management crazy, really, wasn't it, in the end? But we did get some decent other opportunities. Yuki Tsunoda, Ollie Behrman had that little bit of a fight. Behrman tried the sneak attack on the inside. Yuki was smart to it and went early to defend that line, but that caught Behrman out because he thought he'd caught Yuki sleeping. Yuki was aware to it, and that meant Behrman went for a spin. I think that's quite right that wasn't a penalty for Yuki Tsunoda. He had every right to defend that line. There wasn't much of a gap anyway that Behrman was trying to find because Yuki was already quite close to that curb, so I'm not surprised there was no investigation in that. Early doors, actually, there was the lap 7 virtual safety car incident I've completely forgot about, actually. Carlos Sainz on Kimi Antonelli, and that was really disappointing for the pair of them. Carlos Sainz was up there battling 8th, 7th, 8th. and it looked like he'd be on for some good points, and that meant that after that incident, Carlos Sainz with a DNF, and that cost him a chance of points, and for Kimi Antonelli as well, for that matter. And then obviously, like I said, we got the battle in the end with Leclerc and Lando Norris, and then right at the end, Lewis Hamilton with another final lap scare this weekend. He thought he'd got a front tyre puncture, just made it ahead of Oscar Piastri at the line, but it was a bit closer, or he had more of a gap than he did last time out to Fernando Alonso, so didn't need to do anything erratic moves or corner cutting around this circuit to keep Oscar Piastri back, and he kept that 4th place. But yeah, really strong showing from Ferrari in the race. My predictions have just gone down in the bin after that one, because I thought the Ferraris would struggle, and it's turned out to be actually a very good race for them. They're now just 4 points behind Mercedes in that Constructors' Championship. On to the 3 good and the 3 bad. Yeah, the first of that, no surprise, Max Verstappen just 40 points behind, made up 23 points this race. I mean, when you look at the stats and that, this weekend is wow. What a weekend. Max Verstappen couldn't have asked for anything better. The 2 McLarens taking each other out, and that meant that instead of just making up a couple of points in the sprint race, it was a huge 8 points. And then in the race, won the race, and Oscar just down in 6th place or 5th place in the end, a 15-point cut into the lead of Oscar Piastri. And the way he's racing, I just don't think he thinks he's really too worried about Norris at all. He's got eyes on the prize. Like he said, his chances are 50-50. You either win it or you don't. He's got 5 races to go, and now he needs to make less than 10 points a race. And he was strong last time out in Mexico, so if they win there, and it's down to just at best case scenario that Oscar Piastri is 2nd. I mean, the way he's been driving at the moment, that rookiness is showing out a little bit. Is this championship pressure really on? That's 3 bad races on the bounce for Oscar, but we'll get to him, and more on Max. It's can he win next time out in Mexico? And then the real pressure is on Brazil. Everybody's talking that it'll be McLaren's strong one, as will Qatar and potentially Abu Dhabi, so that's 3 out of the final 4. But I wouldn't bet against Max Verstappen at all in any of these races, and the problem now that we've seen is the Ferraris are strong and back. Both Ferraris beating the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. Before it was worst case, they were 2nd and 3rd, so picking up best of the rest points. Now if these Ferrari guys get their act together in race, and we've seen Mercedes pull it in the last time out as well, where George Russell went on for the win. It's going to be absolutely crazy. The tension now is palpable, and Max Verstappen on a hunt with a brilliant lights to flag victory, a fantastic weekend, the win in the sprint, qualifying pole positions, absolutely down to a T. If he'd written this weekend beforehand of how he'd wished it to go, I think this would have been the absolute perfect scenario for him and his chances in the championship. And wow, I just cannot wait for the final few races to see how these are panning out, because it's just now looking like it's Max Verstappen's title for the taking. And if he pulls this off, I'm not even a Max fan, and if he pulls it off, personally, I'd like Oscar Piastri to go and win this championship. I would like to see a new young guy up at the top, and but the way it's going at the moment, I just can't see anyone but Max Verstappen winning it, which is just scary. Second of the 3 good, I've gone for Charles Leclerc, because I thought he drove brilliantly well. His defensive drive, the move at the front early doors, the risky strategy that Ferrari went for the softs, mediums, the way he defended from Lando Norris at the early parts of the race looked fantastic. And then he held Norris off for a 2nd time, but Norris got 2nd wind on them soft tyres, which is a little bit of a shame for Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, because if he pulled off a P2, it was absolutely mega. But great result from Ferrari nevertheless. Just 4 points now behind Mercedes in that championship, where at one point we were talking about how disastrous this season's gone for Ferrari, and one race weekend later, now they're looking like they're right back in the hunt, and the whole pressure is just eased, and that is the job at Ferrari for you. I mean, everyone's talking about Fred Vasseur going into this weekend and Christian Horner potentially taking his place, but a 3-4 is a fantastic result for Ferrari in the race. They had really good race pace, and they'll be hopeful that they can find this kind of performance for the rest of the season. Charles Leclerc with a podium is really good to see for him. A fantastic job there from him and Ferrari. I'd say just a little bit gutted he didn't keep Norris behind for a second place. Third of the three good, and I'm really glad to say this, Yuki Tsunoda, P7, made up 6 places, a really good start, 3 places up on lap 1, got himself into P10 after a poor qualifying session, and it just sort of not really going well for him at all. I thought this was a really, really good recovery drive from Yuki Tsunoda, some solid defensive driving. The incident with Ollie Behrman, rightly so, I don't think he got a penalty. He should have got a penalty for that. Good, he was wise to that move and defended that well, and drove comfortably from there after that incident, to be honest. Didn't really quite have the pace to catch the guys up ahead, George Russell, but from what we've seen him do and the way these races have normally gone when he's qualified badly, I thought this was a really good, strong showing from Yuki Tsunoda. All rumours are now that the Red Bull are confirming this seat, whoever's going to get it, next time out in Mexico, and all the rumours are that Yuki's going to lose his seat. So despite that sort of bad news looking like it's going to be just around the corner and Isaac Hadjar taking that position, I thought he's shown a really strong weekend in the end, or a strong race, should I say. Can't say it's a strong weekend because qualifying was bad, but he's pulled it off in the races when it's mattered. But it's really good to see. Hopefully he gets that new front wing next time out in Mexico, and that should really help him along. On to the 3 bad. I'm starting with Oscar Piastri, because this has been a horrible race weekend for him. Taken out on lap 1, turn 1 on the sprint, and that took, for him, luckily enough, took Norris out, because it would have been even worse with had he not done that. I mean, his points lead to Norris would have been just 7 points. But in the race, he was absolutely nowhere. Often 3 to 4 tenths slower than Lewis Hamilton, even up times half a second, just not even getting anywhere close to the DRS. He was 5-6 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, who wasn't really making much impression on his teammate. So I'm not really sure where his pace went. A good start or a bad start for George Russell meant he made up 1 place. It looked like he might have got ahead of Lewis Hamilton, but didn't. This is probably the worst case scenario for him in a weekend, and it's the 3rd poor Grand Prix on the bounce. And well, he's got to put things right in Mexico. He's got to be at, second best if he can't take the win. But 1 win would really release an awful lot of pressure for Oscar Piastri. If he can get this lead back from 40 to 47 points after next weekend, for example, and then 3 to go, you'd put him in the box seat. So it's one of them. It can swing so easily for Oscar Piastri, this whole narrative, but it just really does need that 1 win, because it's, when you've got 4 to go, 25 at each, and you just cancel these races out. 1 really good result for him, like I said, really puts him in the box seat. So if he thinks of it like that, hopefully he'll be arrest this sort of big downward slide that we've seen in the last couple of Grand Prix. But he's a young rookie going for his first championship, and he's got an experienced fast guy in Max Verstappen taking leaps and bounds out of their lead, and McLaren kind of need to arrest this downward slide that we've seen in their performance. They were top dogs for so much of the season that we thought they'd just walk it to the end, and somehow they've let Max Verstappen in with a shout and just added pressure. But Oscar really now just 14 points behind, ahead of Lando Norris as well. So I think it's that stage yet where he can ask McLaren to call rank and say, look, we have a clear number 1 now. Let's defend and help Oscar keep and win this championship from Max Verstappen. that could change with another couple of bad races, but yeah, might the damage be done by then? But let's see how that one pans out. But a really bad race for Oscar Piastri, had no pace whatsoever through that whole race. Second of the three bad, and much like Oscar Piastri, it was Alpine and Pierre Gasly. Lost 5 places from a decent qualifying position where he started in 13th, finished plumb last in the end. No race pace. I'm surprised. It was a really strange call for them to call Franco Colapinto to hold position behind Pierre Gasly because he was nursing some issues, but Franco Colapinto had Gabi Bortoleto breathing all over his neck, so I'm not sure why he would do that. He's fighting for a seat in that team, and yeah, I think it was right to do what Franco did and make the pass on Pierre Gasly. So yeah, it was just disappointing to hear Alpine do that, and Pierre Gasly finishing last again. He's absolutely nowhere in this car, and the end of the season just can't come soon enough. Third of the three bad, I'm going for Carlos Sainz because he had a really good qualifying, got himself up into P8, a decent start in the race, and it's such a shame he went for a dive on Kimi Antonelli that just wasn't there. He wasn't even halfway alongside the car, tapped his rear wheel and off Kimi Antonelli went, and a DNF for Carlos Sainz. Cost both drivers, cost Carlos Sainz more. He might see some driver penalty points after this one because it was, yeah, really horrible. Cost Kimi Antonelli some points as well, and cost himself some points because he was on a bit of a roll, picking up some solid points and some good results. A brilliant sprint, but a really poor race for Carlos Sainz. And that was the Austin Grand Prix. Not a classic by any means, the race, but we got some good racing action between Ferrari and McLaren. It's been an age since we've said that. It reminds me of the Schumacher-Hakkinen days, the way them two were going at it, hammer and tongs. It was really, really good to see. But next time out, just 1 week away, next weekend, we head to Mexico. Absolutely crazy, that race. I love the whole drama and the build-up around that one. And it's going to be scary if you're Oscar Piastri. I mean, he's got to arrest these nerves and just kind of pull things together. But holy shit, Max Verstappen is on fire, and he is the last person you want hunting you down if you're a McLaren and a young rookie on the way to try and win your first championship. I'm here for it though. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one.